Hi, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review for Fear the Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 4, Blood in the Streets. This video is a part of a series of videos where I review episodes of Fear the Walking Dead, so I'll have to give a spoiler warning for Fear the Walking Dead up to Season 2, Episode 4. If you haven't seen up to this point, you may not want to watch this video, otherwise some things may be spoiled for you. So this video was good. It renewed my faith in Fear the Walking Dead as I was starting to have my doubts in the last two episodes. However, I wasn't blown away by it. And I wouldn't call it absolutely awesome, but it was a good start. So the episode starts with scenes of Nick crawling on land and this helicopter flying overhead, and we see like a whole bunch of tents and an abandoned village and a few walkers here and there that he kills and he plays around with. Now that was really confusing as we had no idea where he was, what he was doing. I couldn't tell if this was a flashback or a flash forward. I actually thought that this was taking place in the near future, as sometimes episodes will start with the scene from later on the teaser and then go back to show us how they got to this point, but that's not what they did here. As we go to the boat and Nick is missing and no one knows where he is. We later learned he was sent on a mission by Strand. I'm not sure how he would have expected his family to react to him missing if the boat hadn't been hijacked, but whatever. So for the most part, I found the Nick scenes really boring. I mean, it was somewhat interesting seeing him cover himself in blood and walk like a zombie because he seems to have fun doing it and kind of enjoys it, where everyone else that we've seen on the main show who did it was just disgusted by it and was just doing it out of necessity, whereas he seems to be actually like it. So that was kind of interesting. So back on the boat, we see a raft speed towards the boat, and a pregnant woman with two guys charge on board, saying that the woman's in labor and that they need help, and they're all freaking out. And the whole time Chris was asking if he should shoot them, but Travis and Madison were like, don't do that, what are you, crazy? So they all go to help them, and then they get ambushed and find out the whole thing was a ruse to take over the boat. Strand recognizes what is happening and tries to escape on the raft, but is shot at and his raft is damaged. I'm surprised he didn't try to shoot them off or fight them off, but I guess that as we'll learn in the flashbacks, that Strand isn't a fighter of any kind. So let's get to those flashbacks where we get Strand's backstory. Now, I said in a previous review that Strand seemed like a sort of criminal or scam artist or drug dealer type or something like that. So I predicted that that wasn't the case and he was just a regular guy, and that the person he was trying to get to in Mexico was like a wife or a daughter. I was close. It was a lover. Of course, I didn't predict that he was gay, which certainly broke expectations, which I liked. It was quite good. But I knew from just the way they were presenting him as some sort of drug dealer that was misleading. It's like John Locke from Lost. When he was first introduced, he comes off as some sort of hitman or master hunter or military man. Turns out he's just a clerk for a box company. So this wasn't that misleading, but he did turn out to just be a real estate investor whom attempted to steal a guy's credit cards. And his lover's henchman is an armed thug of some sort, so it's not completely not what it seems, but Strand apparently is just trying to get to his lover, which generally speaking is what I expected. As for the flashbacks themselves, they were okay, but ultimately thought they dragged on for a bit too long. They were a bit boring, but ultimately served the purpose of giving us Strand's backstory. While on the boat in present times, the situation was really tense, as Travis tells the hijackers he can fix the engines, and he's basically just stalling them for time, while Alicia deals with Jack, the guy who she was talking to on the radio before. So we all knew she was a dumbass for trusting a random stranger with important information on the radio, but to her credit, she acknowledges that she brought this on them and seems to be trying to find a way to get him out of it by playing Jack in order to get him to let her family go. And to be fair to her, I think she does a good job at it. Meanwhile, Madison tries to distract the pregnant woman with talk of the difficulties of childbirth, while Salazar tries to break free of his bonds. So this story was really intense. I thought it did a great job of building suspense, but at the same time, the whole hostages trying to manipulate their captors into fucking up is kind of a trope done many times before, but I thought there were some great character building scenes for all of our main characters who will be a little less naive after this episode. While back with Nick on land, we learned the nature of his mission, that he was sent by Strand to meet up with Louise, who would help them get into Mexico. He seemed confused because he thought it would just be Strand, but he goes along with it anyway. So on the boat, we find out the hijackers are a part of a larger group led by a man named Connor, who put them up to this in order to acquire more boats. Now this part kind of threw me off because this is a common occurrence in the main show of The Walking Dead about there being a lot of roaming groups with leaders, but it seems a bit too early after the apocalypse in this show to have an established group that's already so organized. But whatever, I'll just go with it. So Connor shows up just as Travis gets the boat started because he realized he couldn't stall any longer. So Connor is impressed with his new prize and decides to take Alicia and Travis with him, as Jack identified them as useful, and Jack goes with them as well, leaving everyone else in the hands of the jumpy hijackers, who will likely just kill them all. But that's when Nick shows up with Louise, who just starts shooting at the hijackers, and that's when Salazar and Kim make their move, and together they overpower the hijackers and kill them all and retake the boat. However, Louise is insistent that they're not going anywhere without Strand, so they go back and rescue him from the ocean where he was close to drowning. So this was a really intense episode, and we're left with the situation where Travis and Alicia are being held by this Connor group, whereas Strand and Louise will just want to go straight to Mexico. So it'll be interesting to see how this is resolved. I'm pretty sure they're not going to write Travis and Alicia off the show, so we might get a situation where our group tries to take on Connor's group, or more likely Alicia and Travis will find a plan to break free. I actually predict that they'll meet up with Alex again, and that she will have been taken by Connor's people as well, and that she'll help Travis and Alicia escape, and that's how she'll come back on the show. But that's just my wild guess. I could be wrong. We'll see how that goes. So my rating for Blood on the Streets out of 10 is an 8, extremely good. This was a really suspenseful episode that had me on the edge of my seat the whole time. Some great character building moments, particularly for some of our more naive characters such as Chris and Alicia, whom I believe will grow a lot more after the events of this episode and won't be so naive. Plus, it was really interesting to get Strand's backstory, which, just as I suspected, it averted expectations. And it set up a very interesting scenario for the episodes to come. But some of the scenes, such as the Strand flashbacks and Nick on the shore looking for Louise, did drag on for a tad too long and were a bit boring. And the hostage situation on the boat, while intense, was a tad stereotypical, but still a great episode. So that's it for my review of Blood on the Streets. Be sure to check back here every week as I review episodes of Fear the Walking Dead. Also be sure to check out my channel as I cover many other shows such as Game of Thrones, Star Trek, Orphan Black, and more. And be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that. Thanks a lot for watching.